Okay, let me get started. It's 22 seconds after. Okay, something happened. This is what happens with technology. This is so why it's important to be in the group, because it's so much quicker for me to share with you guys if something crazy happens. So if you are not a student, you probably won't know about this. But if you are a student, make sure you go to the home page of the student portal and join the community. And if you have an issue joining the community, please, please, please reach out to me. Also, please understand it takes me about a couple of hours to get back to you, sometimes sooner, but I do want to make sure you guys are in the group because something happened and I was like, crap, it just totally stopped the whole live and oh well. So let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Nikia. I am the creator and one of the instructors of Wig Making 101. The reason why I'm introducing myself, because this video, everybody is probably going to be able to see that are students or not, so they can get an idea of what I teach in the hair loss section of Wig Making 101. I'm one of the instructors in that area. Our other instructor, she also teaches the aspects of making prosthetics and, well, making the molds and other things that you need to know as a hair loss specialist or a hair loss practitioner, because she's licensed to do that. So, disclaimer number one, I am not a licensed cosmetologist. I am also not a hair loss specialist. I'm not in any way licensed in those areas. So that may be two things. That may be a red flag to you that are licensed, but hear me out. And for those of you who are not licensed, this might make you feel a little bit better because you've probably been wanting to get into the hair industry in whatever way you possibly can. And you may not even know that this does not require licensing to do. I am an expert. I am an educator in making wigs and cranial prosthetics. I have trained manufacturers. I am a partner to a manufacturer in South Africa, Johannesburg, South Africa. I educate, train them to make sure that the products are made just the way they need to be for our private companies or our private clients. So that's where I am with this. So another disclaimer I need to make sure that you guys understand. When it comes to making cranial prosthetics, or in other words, medical wigs, there are some things that may be a little bit difficult for you to do when you're doing this from home. Because what I'm doing is showing you how to build a business in this from home. And you can make these pieces specifically for those who are licensed stylists, cosmetologists, hair loss specialists, or practitioners. They need us, because without the product, they cannot help their client. They can help their client in so many different ways, but when it comes to the hair replacement systems, or in other words, cranial prosthetics or medical wigs, somebody has to make them. And there are areas in the world and other countries, even there's two that I know of here in the United States, and one that's coming up that makes cranial prosthetics. And there are some things that you will not have access to because they require some chemical things that, you just won't have access to it. So in Wig Making 101, under the Hair Loss 101 section, I'm going to be teaching you how to do this from home with things you have access to. I'll make sure that links are down below this video, because this video will be placed on the student portal with all links and information that you need to know. And let's get started. I want to show you guys some things. Don't laugh at me because it's the teacher in me. I have organized my table a certain way. You might notice that behind me I've changed a lot, over here with something else. If you are new, you probably don't even know how this basement looked before, but things have pretty much changed, because not only am I I've already been doing the hair loss sector. I'm also going to be doing the mastectomy boutique, because I know fashion like the back of my hand. So just so you guys know, Don't laugh at me again, all right? Because I want to make sure that this is clear, because this has to coincide very well with one of our other instructors, Tawana J. So just real quickly, the course that is supposed to happen tomorrow will be postponed, and we will definitely let you know. Tomorrow is a holiday. We all need to just chill and enjoy ourselves. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And you guys will know the new dates for that course, because that course is very important for you. But I am glad I'm getting a chance to talk about this first before those two courses come up, because this will definitely help you. So sorry if I'm like twisting this thing around. So I'm going to turn my camera around, and I want you to see how I put this in order, okay? So here are the steps to look at when you are a person that makes cranial prosthetics, okay? The first thing is the mold, okay? See, I'm being silly, but that's the first thing. You do not create these unless you are licensed, or you're a specialist, or you are a practitioner, and this is what you do. You make molds. Now, some practitioners and some specialists make their molds quite differently. Some make them in cast molds. In most cases, you'll see them make these with tape and saran wrap, because that is usually the easiest the easiest way to do it, and it's actually the quickest than the cast molds that some specialists use. But these are examples of a mold that you would use to actually make a cranial prosthetic. Cranial prosthetics are definitely supposed to, I'm saying supposed to, be geared to that person's measurements and their own head. Everybody's head is not the same size, the same, you know, bumps and lumps and things that goes on in a person's head. It's not the same. So we have one that is a little bit more smaller, depending on where the hair loss or the hair thinning is. This one is a little bit larger, which in most cases, you will learn how to make these most, because these can be made and they can be sold, you know, almost as if like they're in stock, if that makes sense. And then this is a full mold, which would require you to make this out of two types of material, or meaning full lace unit or a full thin skin unit, especially if it's for someone who has extreme hair loss. So this is also another way to say a wig, and we already know how to make stock wigs, because there is a difference, but this more than likely would be made for thin skin or for some form of ventilating process. So it starts off with the molds first, and what happens is, my goal is when you guys come across a hair loss specialist, or you want to work with a hair loss specialist that has to create these molds for their clients, instead of them sending them out to someone and waiting for so long to get them done, they can send them to someone, and you can partner up with them to make sure that they get exactly what they need for their client. So I'm teaching you how to be the person that makes them for them. Here's number 2. And it says step 1, but that's not what we're looking at yet. The foundation is very important. I've mentioned for cranial prosthetics, they have what is called thin skin, and thin skin is usually made of some form of silicone, or really is a silicone base, and it could be a healing mechanism to it, and I'll show you what they are because they're down there. They help to be able to suction to the person's head. So foundations, you will learn. These have already been taught in the specialty wig making category on the student portal. This is a Swiss lace base. In other words, we can make this a topper or a toupee. And when I say a topper, is usually wefted, or it may be fully ventilated with some wefts or not. Or toupee, it's fully ventilated, but there are no combs in it. So most of the time, toppers require combs, which is why we created certain bases like this, because this is great for someone who may just have thinning hair, and you can just make these bases, as many of them as you need, and do whatever you like with them. Those courses are already online as we speak, or on the student portal, but you do want to make sure that you make your base according to the mold that was provided to you. So I've already done it. I'm going to do it again for these two so you'll see exactly step by step how I do it. Okay. Now, these are also ways that you can make cranioprosthetics, or in other words, toppers. When I say toppers, they have combs on them, and they're just really for someone who just has thinning hair and they want their hair to look like it has a little bit more volume to it. They can be made with these for fashion purposes, but more than likely, if it's for someone who really does have thinning hair, it's better to have it fully ventilated and on a Swiss lace or a monofilament or something that you are able to ventilate, and it should be of close to their skin tone. We're also going to learn how to finish making wig caps. This is actually half of the wig cap. Haven't even gotten to the top yet, so I'm going to do this twice. This was taught with two other students because this is what they focus on. So this is an example of a full lace cap. The reason why you probably do want to know how to make these, because they're great especially for kids. So you would have to use a smaller wig head. I will be teaching you how to do the markings on it so that you can make the customization of it according to their head size. Yes, you will need to use a much smaller wig block or head block, if that makes sense. But this is just the back part, and it's done by hand. And I'll show you guys how the top will, but I'm actually going to just finish it up and show you how to do it all the way from beginning to end. It's already done, but I just want you to know. These are in your kits. You can also find them on Amazon and in most cases at your local beauty supply store. I do have links on the site already under wig making for you guys to be able to purchase these, but they're not hard to find. You just gotta type Swiss lace. Now, they come in packs like this, and they also can come in yards, up to 2 or more yards, so you can make more units as needed. So these are actually, see, I'm doing this with one hand, see? Is it gonna open or close? It opens for me. So these are also found at a beauty supply store too. You can also find them. It's called weaving net, and that's what you see here. It's a weaving net. It's used for people who like to do sew-ins on parts of their hair that is thinning. So we're trying to get away from that because all of that pressure and tension from the thread and sewing on wefts onto someone's head can become a problem later. So we're trying to get away from that. At least that's what I'm trying to teach you guys, how to get away from things like that and make things that are a little bit more easier and less of a problem in the long term on their hair. And then there's stretch lace that I've had for a good while. This was to make a unit for my mom a while back, and I had to tint the lace and everything, but I still had some left. But here's the other netting. And these two, the large net and the small net, these two, they come together. So you don't buy them separately. They actually come together in the same package with this exact same brand. The brand is Q Fit or Q2 Fit. It's very interesting how they have their logo, but it's Q Fit. So that's an idea of what you can use. I would say more so for fashion purposes as opposed to a full lace piece. But keep in mind, these are, you can get it by yards too. So people think that you can't, but you can. You can get this by the yard. I find this on Amazon pretty easy, and it's very inexpensive for, you know, a lot of it. So that one is tinted. So it's the exact same. So you guys will know. And it's also the same as this, but they're, it's the same company, but it's in yardage as opposed to already set by a certain size here. So I just want to make sure you guys are clear on that. So the first step is your base, and how you choose to do your base can be of two ways. One, if you're just making stock pieces, you can choose any of these and provide it to who you work with or work for, or how you want to sell them. Or based off what your hair loss specialist or cosmetologist or that person who is more than likely will be your client, because you make their pieces for them, they will tell you what they need specifically for your client. Not all clients need the exact same thing. So you need to understand that. They may need certain materials in other areas. They may be okay with like a lace frontal for this full mold. You just have to make the cap for it. So the wefts and the frontal on it, it just all depends on what that client needs, and you and the hair loss specialist or practitioner communicates that to make sure that the piece is made. So that's number 2. And it's also the first step. You have to make the base first. Number 3, the tools you need to do this. And it's also step number 2. So, tools you need: hair. Loose hair preferably, but it's totally fine. It is totally fine to use wefted hair. You just have to cut it, and you need to make sure that you have at least a 4-inch fold. I'm going to show you methods on how you can do that the correct way, the professional way when it comes to ventilating. But you have to ventilate, guys. There's no way around it, okay? Especially if you're going to be making these from scratch and customized to the client. So, give me a second. You see my face right here? I want to show you guys something, because this is a little bit easier. So number 3 is all about tools, and there's different tools that you can use, but I'm going to show you professional, and then the other one is, you know, beginner professional. I'll say it that way. So beginner professional, and these have also been already mentioned in the courses. These are micro latch hook needles. So I'm not sure how the lighting is going to show, but these are micro latch hook needles. You can use these to ventilate. Ventilation courses are already on the student portal. It's under specialty wig making. And when you go down that category, it will say ventilation courses. So what you will notice is that I'm teaching you just the basics of ventilating, period. How to use a micro latch hook needle and a Asian or Chinese ventilating needle. So you'll notice that in those videos, I have you ventilating on white base on top of a wig head, and I'm showing you the steps it takes to get it done. So that's what this is. So the tools that you need is either a micro latch hook needle, or if you want to be professional and get started like really doing it the correct way, these are also in your kit as well. This is so it's a very short hook. And this is not a Japanese, it's a Chinese ventilating needle. It's a very short hook to it. And they come in different pickup molds is what I call them. People will say they come in different sizes and things like that. But what these numbers mean, I'm going to put them so you can see. And I've already mentioned this before, but I always like to make sure everything is covered when I talk about something. The numbers that you see where it says 1 to 2, 1 to 1, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, that means how many strands of hair it will pick up when you are ventilating. The most common used is a 1 to 2 or 2 to 3. And you want to make sure you're not picking no more hair. It has no choice. It's going to pick the amount of hairs that it wants to. But it's based off how many strands of hair it can ventilate within that base. Now the longer ones, this is a very long one. These are called German needles. They're long and they have a longer hook to them. There are some people that prefer to use these anyway. So they can use these. Okay, so I have to be clear with you guys. I'm faster with a Chinese ventilating needle than I am with a German, mainly because I've spent most of my time using this one than I have with my German needle. So can I get a little bit faster using my German needle? Probably so. I just got to start using it and practicing it. So that's something to think about from me as your instructor. This is probably why I'm going to be showing you how to use this the most, because I'm the fastest with it and I understand the technique of something that hooks this small. But I am practicing to use the other one. So just want you guys to know that. So tools, this is what you need to ventilate. There's no other way around it. Some other things you might need. I posted this, excuse me guys, I posted this into the group a while back, but these are magnifying glasses, okay? And I got them from Amazon. And what they do is they help you to be able to see those little micro holes that you see in a base. In a Swiss base, monofilament base, silk base, doesn't matter. And silk bases aren't really like this. Silk base, well, silk fabric can be like this, but some silk bases feel like plastic. That's a whole nother course. I just want you guys to see the basic things. So I did get a set of these. Do I use them much? Not really. As you can see, this is actually my first time opening them, but they do have the different magnifying degrees to it. So you will definitely need something that will be able to allow you to be able to see exactly what you're doing. I'm sorry, I'm so far up and you guys are trying to see where I'm at. So tools you need, last overview, ventilating needles or micro latch hook needles to ventilate. You do need a magnifying glass. Those are step 3, the tools that you need. And it's also step 2 because you have to make the unit by ventilating. Now you can make some toppers with just wefted hair. That course is already on there. And I'll show you in a second what that looks like. But I also want to make sure you know there's one more tool to your advantage that you might like. And this is this bad baby right here. This is a magnifying light, okay? So it's a light to it. It comes in warm and cool. And as you can see, this is a magnifying glass so that you can be able to sit and use it. I like this one because, let's turn it around. I like this one because it rolls with me. I just have a long cord and I could just move around if I need to. But it's best when you have it just sitting in place where you can be able to use it. So this is also from Amazon. I believe it's Logitech, if I'm not mistaken. And I will make sure I post this on here as well for those who are interested. I think it starts at $99 for this piece. And I also have another one. This one doesn't roll, but it just stays in place. And I have it over here because this is where my high post wig making sewing machine will be in a couple of weeks. So same thing. It only gives cool lighting, but it goes up as hot bright and it dims, and it's also a magnifying glass too. So this one you can have it sitting on the floor or on the table because you can take it apart to do so. So those are the tools. And this isn't step number 3, but this is the product. So if you did not know, there's 2 ways these are made. There is a machine out there that I am still doing some research on, but they're usually hard to get for home businesses because they're meant for manufacturing facilities. And what that machine does is it takes the hair and it injects it in a certain way, and then it puts glue on this side of your lace units. So when you feel like it's really gritty and like you're having a hard time lifting the color, if you are trying to bleach the knots on the closure, it is because there's a film on top of it, a glue film, because they inject the hair. They don't necessarily ventilate. Ventilation creates knots. This does not create knots. It's actually glued on. So it's injected into the lace, and then the other side stamps it down to glue it. So what it does is it melts the hair and glues it down a specific way. So I'm still looking into that machine because there's another one I've come across, and it's crazy how technology and all of these machinery that they have out there that produces this. This is why you get them in such large volumes. But you do need to understand that eventually that's going to die off, and then everything is going to have to go back to its own, its original way of doing things, which is ventilating. And if you are a person who watches YouTube videos on anything about cranial prosthetics, you notice most of those manufacturers do them by hand. They do ventilation, or they do injection ventilating. So when I say the product, this is really what you're trying to do. You're creating the finished product. Now, granted, these are closures. They're made the exact same way a cranial prosthetic is made, okay? Made the exact same way. I'm going to teach you two ways. One, how to do it by hand, totally from scratch, which is what I've been explaining. You have to make the base. You have to ventilate, and then this is your your final product. The second is taking already made lace units like 5x5 and 4x4 closures and frontals, and actually customizing it to appear like the base that we want. Okay, I'll give you an example. You can take this, and I wish I had the other one, it's somewhere else, but you can take two pieces of a lace unit. So that means I have one on this side, one on the other. You can sew them together, and then you would have to mold the hair in a certain direction. Because the closures are already come ventilated and done a certain way, you already know with closures, frontals, or 360s, you get to mold the hair how you want to. I'll show you how to do that by using 4x4 and 5x5 closures, merging them together, and then molding them as needed. So this is great for those who just are feeling a little intimidated, by actually ventilating units, okay? The reason why I want you to know how to ventilate, let me say this so you guys see the seriousness in my face, okay? Reason why I want you to know how to ventilate, because what if something happens to these companies that cannot produce, say for example, COVID-19? We know that China is about to go into a recession, so we know that products that they're trying to get rid of, they don't know what's going to happen. You have to understand they are going through a situation that we have gone through or in the past, or maybe going through in the near future, and people still deal with hair loss, okay? It's an epidemic or whatever we want to call it, but if you know how to make these pieces to help people, that is a great thing. So it is good that you know how to do it by hand instead of always relying on China or any other country or company. Even if you're international and you're not from the US, you don't have to worry about looking to anybody else to do this, because you have the skills and the techniques to do it. So that's why I'm teaching you both ways, how to make them yourself, and then also how to use products that are already out there to get it done. For example, you can take a frontal and remold it a certain way so that it can mimic. You can add the finishings and things that's needed to mimic that piece that that person needs. So keep in mind, we're focusing mostly on lace pieces. That's toppers and toupees, okay? So that's what I mean when I'm saying I'm going to teach you both ways. I'm going to teach you the organic way and the cheat way, because they both work, okay? So this topper piece here, and then I'll show you guys what's the last step. And hopefully you guys can ask questions, but this is a topper piece. This topper was created, and it's already in the student portal. It's under specialty wig making. And this is an example of what we call a fashion topper, where it's wefted. Okay, so it's wefted. So in a circle, in the center, this is a circular closure, and it is a polyurethane base closure. It's not silicone or anything. It's one of those, what they want to call them, silk bases, but it's not a silk fabric. It just feels like plastic. So that's what it is. But it's just taking hair of the same length, just pretty much sew it on a sewing machine. This was done on a sewing machine in a circular motion. And then you hand sew the closure piece at the top instead of the old school method where we try to take the hair and try to, do it all the way into a circle. That only works on curly hair. But on straight hair, it's better to use some form of closure. I also have a video of where you use the closure itself, like a 4x4 or 5x5 closure, and cut it and make it a circular piece. But it would be much bigger because you don't want to cut this too small unless you're one of those people that know how, and I'm telling you I do, how to take this closure and turn them into 4 small circular pieces. It's all about cutting it in a circle. So this is a topper piece, and this is where we get into number 5, which is the finishings, okay? One of the finishings is wig clips and combs, okay? So for a topper piece, it's mainly for people who have thinning hair. They have hair on their head, but they're thinning in the crown more than likely, and they just need something that gives them the appearance that they have a lot thicker hair on the top of their head. That is the purpose of a topper. Toupees, we know them as for men, but they also can be for women as well. It's just the correct term is a hair replacement system or a cranioprosthetic. But toppers can be ventilated or sewn. Toupees are only ventilated, and they can be used for both men and women. Toppers are rarely ever used on men's heads. So you need to know that. All right, last but not least, let's turn you around. I'm gonna put links to this too, but the finishings. Step 3. Cool. So you got first step is the base. Second step is ventilating or making the product. Third step is the finishings. So finishings are totally a creative mode for me. So disclaimer in that one, they're a creative thing for me. You can add silk fabric to the underside for toppers. Kimberly, you're right. So that can be for toppers, or you can use some form of adhesive and let it dry. So I did some research on this. So this is medical tape, okay? So it's silicone tape. One of the things that's very important if you're going to use something like this, and what I mean is there's tape. When you look at a cranioprosthetic or a topper or a toupee, you'll notice that there's it appears to be plastic or something of that sort on the underside of that unit. I'm looking for things that you can use at home that does the exact same thing, and in most cases is the exact same thing. So this is medical supply silicone tape. Most important is hypoallergenic, latex-free. This is very important because you guys may or may not know from our last instructor, our certified instructor, that latex is usually an allergen for most African Americans. So, and I know I'm one of them. So latex free is very important. And then snap-on protective cap. Who cares about that? But, well, we do care. But what it is it's tape. Okay? It's silicone tape. And it's not sticky. The other side is sticky. So this side is the side, it feels very, very slick and smooth. And you would peel it and you would put it on the base, perimeter, or wherever you or that hair loss specialist or practitioner tells you it needs to go for that client. Because keep in mind, some clients don't want their head shaved. Some clients prefer, only that the adhesive to be on certain areas of the head. But these are things you discuss with your client, who is the hair loss specialist or practitioner who sends you the mold. So this is taped on it. And on this slick, nice feel of the side, you already know it's not going to be abrasive on that person's head. So that means you can put it all over. You can put this all over it, or you can just put it in a circular motion if this person doesn't have too much of an irritation from the back end of the units that you create, even if it's from the lace pieces. I do suggest that you clean units, especially if you are going to purchase and merge them together. Just a thought. The adhesive goes to this. These are very easy to repair. So not only do we need to show you, and I say we because there's another instructor that teaches this, we need to teach you guys how to repair these units too, because most cranial prosthetics are not meant to last for years like regular wigs do. Okay? They're actually, they last somewhere up to, I'll give you a base form, 2 weeks up to 6 months with proper care, okay? With proper care. You, as the person who makes these, they may send them to you for repair, or they may teach their client how to do the repair, or they may know how to do the repair themselves. Especially if you're working with them, they know exactly what to do because you guys have communicated how you want your units to be for that particular client. But again, it's a lot of them. The cost for this, I think it was under $30. So this is a lot because it's a double. And I can put it together. It's a lot. This is a lot of tape. And the reason why I need a lot of tape, because I need to make a lot of units. So yeah, this is a lot, guys. And it's inexpensive. It's not as expensive as you think it is. And not only that, I'm going to teach you how to factor that into the cost when you make these units. And the most important thing from a hair loss specialist point of view, I'm not one, but communicate with plenty of them. These things are very, very important. So they mentioned that silicone tape or medical grade silicone is better. Now there's also this. This is a Pro Aid. It's an adhesive for the skin. You can also put this over the entire base of the unit, let it dry, and then it becomes something that feels exactly like this. I want you to know it'll feel exactly like this on the underside so that the client or the hair loss specialist can actually, I mean, it's amazing how this stuff works. They can actually glue it onto that person's head with no problem. It's also a medical grade as well. It's water-based and it's also latex-free, and it's a silicone base. So this, I will make sure that that's linked into the, you see the ingredients. I want you guys to see that. So I'm gonna also make sure that this is linked into the courses as well. So, and not only that, I'm going to show you how you do it too. It's not just going to give you the products and how you get them and then not show you how to actually use them. So these are the finishing points. And then last but not least, if it's a topper or something that's just temporary for someone who has thinning hair, you will use combs, or these are wig clips. You can use these. Some clients like wig clips. Most clients really do like combs, but I can tell you there is a particular nationality of people who prefer the wig clips because they attach to their hair pretty good. So that's good. And then these are really good for ponytails and for topper pieces like that, where they do have enough hair, but they only wear it for fashion purposes. So that's really good to see. Let me see if I can see if there's any questions. I'm laughing at you, Kimberly. That was a good one. Yes, it's not. Let me just go ahead and do it. Let me finish this up. My obsessive compulsiveness is about to come out because I'm like, I want all of this in here. But yeah, so this is your final piece, your finishing piece. So you can add fabric, and you can add different color fabric if you want to brand yourself a certain way. And you add combs, and that's for topper pieces. But for full lace units that you are going to be using for hair replacement systems, you definitely want to use a silicone tape or a form of adhesive that you would spread all over the base. And you would use this to do that with, let it dry, and it would be able to adhere to that person's head based off whatever adhesive that the hair loss specialist or that client prefers. So this is pretty much everything. Quick overview. Forms, molds. So Tawana J, our hair loss practitioner instructor, she already did these videos. They're there. You need to make sure that you look at those videos because this is what I'm basing everything off of. I'm going to be showing you how to make these too. Number 2 is the foundation. We'll talk about how we make these because you need to know how to make for kids, but we haven't gotten to kids yet. We're just going to focus on the easy stuff first so that you can get your business off the ground if this is something you're really interested in doing. It's really good to know how to do these. Full ones, those are full lace wigs. You can purchase them and I'll teach you how to alter them to make them smaller for a person with a smaller head, which is mostly kids. And base. So from mold to base, preferably Swiss lace, monofilament. I'll be showing you some other forms of bases that you can use, but it's easy to find Swiss lace. It's comfortable. It's been the #1 used anyway when it comes to lace units. I know there's HD lace. I know there's, well, that's a HD lace. This is a transparency lace. I know they exist, but you'll use them if they're already made. But to actually find the actual fabric for it, hard to find. And let's see, number 2, tools you need, ventilating needles, definitely the hair based off the texture that the client needs. So ventilating needles, hair, magnifying glass or magnifying lamp. Those are the tools you need to make things like this. Now these are closures, but this is also how cranial prosthetics, hair replacement systems, toupees, and toppers are made. I did mention about the machine making of them, but we're going to learn how to do them by hand and how to merge pieces that are already made together. Cool. And last but not least, the finishings, adding fabric to toppers, silicone tape, or some form of adhesive to give it that idea of thin skin so that it can adhere to the person's skin well. Make sure that they're hypoallergenic, latex free, especially for African Americans. And now you got a piece to learn from. Cool. So I noticed a question. I just want to make sure I got everybody. No, you do not need a special license to create these things. There's so many people making them on YouTube, right? They are. You are one of them and you are an expert. You make wigs, but are you licensed to do it? Did you find a place where you can get licensing to do it? The reason why it's not on the market because they don't consider it something that is, what do we want to say? More on the cosmetology level. They're not looking at it from that point of view. If you touching someone's head and you're dealing with chemicals or color and cut, that requires a license depending on what state you're in. It's not the same in all states. Here in Detroit, Michigan, you do not need a license to make wigs, to braid hair, to do natural hair, but you do need a license to color and to cut, period. So anything you're dealing with chemicals and cutting someone's hair, you do need a license for that. But there's many of people out there that are much better in they do their job and they're not licensed. And there are people who went through all of the process licensed and they're really good at what they do and they've been over the top. And then there are people who are licensed and don't know what the heck they are doing. So that's just what we have, the pool of people. But be more concerned about you. You're the expert in what you're doing. And if you don't feel like you're the expert, learn from us. Learn from those who've done it so you can be the person that teaches others how to do it. But no, you do not need a license to do this. To work in a manufacturer, no, you don't need a license for it, but you do need experience to do it. There are some aspects of making cranial prosthetics that are not easy to do at home because it does require a facility that deals with specific chemicals and molds and things that we don't have access to here in our homes or can get that to put into our homes. So I just want you guys to know that. Exactly. Thank you, Tawana. Tawana is one of our instructors, and she lets you know that wig making and something else does not fall under the category of cosmetology. So I'm teaching you how to make them so that you can help those who are licensed to get this type of products for their clients. Okay, they have to send this mold. Once this mold is made, they send this mold to who their vendor would be. So I'm teaching you how to be a vendor. Okay. Or a boutique vendor, in other words. So like the mastectomy boutique that me and Heather Long are going to help you guys get started with something else that is a part of, you know, cancer survivors, people who have lost hair, like all of that. We're going to help you with that. But they have to send this to, it has to be specially made for that client. So they have to send it to their vendors that their licensing allows them to get access to, okay? So understand that. So in other words, you are being the person that can be the vendor for them, okay? You can be the vendor for them. Yay, okay, I said it right. Thanks, Tawana. I needed your input to make sure that is the correct way. Yes, but they have to send them to their vendors. If you're not licensed, you don't have access. I know because I tried and I don't get access. I'm not licensed. So, but I'm okay with that. I'm knowledgeable in this because I've been teaching it for ages. I compare it. If you guys notice the back of me, I've taught fashion design, manufacturing, merchandising for 12 years. Well, it's probably been longer than that because I keep losing count. But I know it's been over 10 years. And I used to teach it, and it has the exact same appeal and effect, or requires the same techniques. Knowing how to use a machine, a manufacturing machine, knowing measurements and how to mold things around the body is no different than making a hat to mold across somebody's head. So my experience in it comes from working in, real quick, California, when I went to Michigan State University for my undergrad in apparel and textile design. We were sent to FIT first and then abroad, we could either go to Paris or we went to Los Angeles to Hollywood, California, to work with a costume designer. Now, I still can't even tell you who the costume designer is. I can't tell you what the movie is specifically, but that's how I learned how to make these. And I had no clue how to do it, but the lady taught me how to do it, okay? One of their stylists. So a costume designer doesn't just do costumes. We had to study the script of our character. We had to go and shop for their outfits for specific scenes. And we had to make prosthetics, whether that be makeup, a new nose, or a hairpiece, which is what I did. We had to make those so that it would go across for that particular scene. So that's where my experience comes from it, and that's why I'm knowledgeable of it. Along with doing what most hair loss specialists and practitioners do is a lot of research and seeing what can be done at home from someone like me and what has to be done through a large manufacturing facility. So that is it in a nutshell. I wanted to give you guys a quick overview of what to expect for June. I said, let me do it right now while I have the time because it's going to get pretty busy. Things are going to start opening up here. Yes, she's right. I know you guys are talking amongst each other, and that's a good thing. So, excuse me. That's oh yeah, we got some good stuff. Yes, okay. So please don't be intimidated by licensing or not having licensing and things like that. The whole point of running a business is to not do everything yourself. You have to learn how to work with other people. And if someone else has that expertise and licensing and did the work to get there, work with them. You are the expert in making the pieces. Let them help you become a better expert at that. Yes, you need to know why. Yes, Rose, that's correct. You need to know why you're doing something. And that's why I will never say you have to be licensed to do this. It's called building relationships for a reason. You build relationships with other licensed stylists, cosmetologists, and you work with them to create pieces that they need, because hair loss is real. It's serious. It does a lot to us mentally, emotionally, and we definitely can help people. And they do not have the time to sit there and ventilate pieces. Trust me, they don't have the time, but you do, if this is what you're interested in doing. Good, Kimberly. Don't give up. Even in braiding wigs and things like that, keep that all. That's all creativity, and somebody is going to need that or want it, and you can provide it. So you are your own business, but I'm going to show you how to do this from home and then start connecting you guys with other specialists and licensed cosmetologists so you guys can build relationships to grow both your businesses. Hair loss specialist and the wig maker, the custom wig maker, or the custom cranioprosthetic person, or you can come work with us in Texas. So just want you guys to know that. Yep, it's your passion. Move forward. Y'all better be listening to Anna, okay? She'll be back on the scene June 1st, and Tawana, don't kill me. I forgot the other day. 25th. No, 20th. Whatever. You'll be back. But quick overview. I do everything in 3 steps. Your base, your ventilating, your finishing. It's the same thing with wig making. Your closure, your markings, sewing on your wefts. Keep it simple. That's the best way to do it. I will see you guys in the next live. It's the last Sunday of this month, and I'll be talking about target market, how you can find your target market. It's so many more than just what you think they are, and I'm going to teach you how to analyze, find, and then be able to market to them. So 15th, awesome. June 1st and 15th, some really necessary, if you are going to be a custom wig maker or a cranioprosthetic maker or medical wig maker, you need these classes in hair loss, because you need to understand where they're coming from and what they do and how to, in order to know that you're making the product correctly. All right, guys. You guys know I love you. I'll see you in the group and next week. All right. Peace.